10 Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the 2020 Armed Forces Bowl between Mississippi State and Tulsa. Two teams of which that have had very different seasons. Tulsa is 6-2 coming into this game and is the second place team in the American Athletic Conference. Meanwhile, for Mississippi State, they're 3-7 right now, which definitely does not look like a good record. But after playing a tough schedule, Mississippi State, I still think, is definitely capable of winning this matchup. Should make for a good game here. We'll bring over a full game preview and prediction on this game here today, starting out with your team trends. Last game for Mississippi State, they beat Missouri 51-32 was the final score there. All around, really good win there for Mississippi State to finish off the season, considering Missouri really has been a good team this season. I mean, Missouri finished out the season with a 5-5 record, and they were ranked in the college football playoff rankings at one point as well. So really for Missouri, that's a pretty good team, and for the Bulldogs to beat Missouri like that is a pretty impressive win. As for Tulsa, they lost to Cincinnati in the conference championship game. 24-27 was the final score there. So even though it was a loss, it still was a close game. And I think Tulsa played really well in that game to be able to hang on with a Cincinnati Bearcat team that has been so good all year. Records for both these teams: Mississippi State is 3-7, one-game winning streak. Tulsa is ranked 24th in the nation. They're 6-2 with a one-game losing streak. This game is going to be on Thursday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, noon Eastern Time in Fort Worth, Texas. Spread currently says Tulsa by 2.5. ESPN FPI is going Tulsa as well, 60%. And then the Vegas prediction is also going on the Tulsa side, 32-30 being the current projected final score. So Tulsa is favored here. Not much of a surprise there, considering they do have 3 more wins than Mississippi State does. But once again, I mean, if you look at Mississippi State's schedule, this team played a really tough schedule down the stretch. So you got to consider that as well. Mississippi State has played a lot tougher schedule than Tulsa. But I definitely think both teams are still just about evenly matched. Here's the tech pressure for this game. Mississippi State's got 25 points per game, 34 points allowed. They got 240 pass yards a game, 151 rush yards. And then for yards allowed, they got 259 passing and then 192 rushing. As for Tulsa, they got 27 points per game, 20 points allowed. They got 241 pass yards a game, 160 rush yards. And then for yards allowed, they got 194 passing and then 146 rushing. So really both sides here have got some bright spots on both teams. I mean, if you look at Mississippi State here, I mean, that's definitely more of a passing team than a rushing team. But, I mean, definitely if you look at the defensive side, I mean, this Mississippi State secondary has not been very good this season, allowing 259 average pass yards a game. That is definitely something that they're going to have to improve on if they're going to beat Tulsa here, because Tulsa has actually been really good in the passing game. I mean, they got Smith at quarterback, who's put up 1,600 yards, along with 12 touchdowns on the season. So he's had a pretty good year for Tulsa. And so Mississippi State's definitely going to need to play well in the secondary if they're going to get a win here. But for Tulsa, this is a team that's really good on both rushing and on passing. I mean, they got Taylor, of course, being their top running back, who's put up right around 500 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns, not all that bad at all out of him. And they got a couple running backs who have been leading that core this season. But really for both sides, once again, I mean, both sides are pretty low scoring, and that's why I do think we will see more of a lower scoring game here in this matchup. Definitely, I think both sides are good. I mean, both teams are very good, but I think both teams here definitely have got some to improve on. I mean, if you look at Mississippi State, this is definitely a team that passes a lot more than rushes. Like, if you look at the rushing game for Mississippi State, their top running back is Marks, who's hardly put up 240 yards on the season. Here's some key points for this one. Mississippi State does have a few inconsistency problems, and that is well shown by how they performed this season in the SEC. But once again, I mean, their schedule is much tougher than Tulsa's on their side. I mean, if you look at Mississippi State, I mean, they had to play Auburn, they played Georgia, they played several really good teams. And if you consider that, really, it's not been all that terrible of a season for Mississippi State. But Tulsa is coming up with a conference championship as well, so you do got to consider that too. And Tulsa played pretty well against the Cincinnati team that's been so dominant all year. So, but nonetheless, I think Tulsa's definitely a more skilled team coming into this matchup. It's just a matter of whether or not Mississippi State can use the experience that they gained and possibly use that to get a win over Tulsa. But low scoring is likely here, considering both teams have allowed a very small amount of points per game. Both are below 30. I do think we will see more of a low-scoring game here between both of these teams, and that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Tulsa in this game, actually. I think Mississippi State is definitely going to keep it close, and trust me, I went back and forth on this one a ton. I mean, Mississippi State, they've played a tougher schedule. They probably have got more talent on their team than with Tulsa because Mississippi State has had better recruiting, but all around, Tulsa's just been playing like just a great team this season. This has been the best season for them in quite a long time. And I mean, if you look at them here, like, this is a Tulsa team that made it to the conference championship, and they almost knocked off a Cincinnati team that's been in the top 10 all season. So really for Tulsa here, this is a more talented team, I think. they're a better team. They're going to get the win. 27-21 is the final score. But once again, it's going to be very close. We're going to see a 17-14 score at halftime. Tulsa will still be leading it. 60% chance that we see Tulsa get the win here. But once again, let me know your thoughts and comments below on this game. Score predictions, all of that. Let me know down below. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys all later.